is one of a series in the Old Testament series, which we're running in the church. We've had 3 talks introducing the Old Testament, and the last one was on Genesis. And today I'm going to be speaking about Moses. And there will be about 5 more talks following, 1 a month. So this will give us a wonderful insight and a general understanding about the content of the Old Testament, and hopefully it encourages you to get in there and learn more from it. So, Moses. Our story really begins with Moses, God's promise to Abraham. You shall be the ancestor of a multitude of nations. I will establish my covenant with you and your offspring, and I will give you a land to live in. Moses enters the scene about 430 years later, where his people are slaves in a concentration camp conditions under Pharaoh's harsh taskmasters. On the face of it, Moses is the most unlikely customer to move God's promises forward. He could write actually a most unusual CV. As a male, he was born to a slave parents. He should have been killed at birth, but survived, and amazingly brought up by Pharaoh's daughter in the king's palace, where he spent 40 years. A sort of cuckoo in the nest, until he was seen murdering a slave taskmaster who was murdering and treating very badly one of his own Israelite people. So he had to run away to faraway Midian, where he spent 40 years looking after Jethro's sheep. And this was a time of living a nomadic lifestyle. And it was important for him because of his desert wandering later. And then we can add to that the early insight of palace life. Then comes that encounter with God at the burning bush. A deeply spiritual moment. Take off your shoes. You're standing on holy ground, God says. And I'm not deaf to the cry of the people of Israel. I will give them the land I have promised. Moses is aware he's in the presence of God. But then comes the bombshell. I will send you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of Egypt. Moses was having none of that and wriggles hard. Who am I to do that? No luck. God says, I'll be with you. I don't even know your name. Well, here it is. I am who I am, or in Hebrew, Yahweh. And tell them I sent you. But They won't believe me. And God showed Moses' stick changing into a snake and back again. Then comes Moses' final wriggle. I'm not eloquent. Okay, says God. Aaron will be the loudspeaker, but I will talk to you. Result, Moses loses on a knockout and God wins. And Moses has to go back to Jethro, and who lets him return to Egypt and his people. And it's at this stage that Moses certainly lacks the confidence and the charisma of a powerful leader. The confrontation with Pharaoh and the 10 plagues is well known. But imagine the runaway tackling the most powerful, ruthless man in the world. The support of God's presence gave him newfound confidence. But it was a steep leadership learning curve. It's a 10th plague when every firstborn male child, Egyptian child, is killed, while the blood on the doorposts of the Israelite home saves their firstborn. That's what finally breaks Pharaoh's resolve and allows the people to leave. They head for the Red Sea, cross it, and now they face the desert. A journey with its ups and downs. This traveling band may be free of taskmasters, but they were a loosely knit people from 12 different tribes with no infrastructure to gel them together. God appears and leads with a cloud by day and fire by night. Food appears, but water's not always abundant. And the people are quick to grumble. We were better off in Egypt, they say. On one occasion, when under pressure, Moses loses his cool. His faithfulness, humility, and trust in God slip, much to God's displeasure and to Moses's later detriment. In spite of these downs, people have had amazing opportunity to see God's hand at work, fulfilling his promise. I am with you. Moses increasingly plays the role of judge in pupils' disputes and creates representatives from each tribe to help. The terms of the covenant to Abraham need filling out. And after meeting God on Mount Sinai, he returns down to the bottom again with 10 basic laws or commandments. 4 relate to their relationship with God himself, and 6 to the treatment of each other. These 10 laws form the basis of the covenant agreement between God and his people. They're later expanded to 633 further laws in the books known as the Torah and attributed to Moses. They are Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. We see here in these laws the beginning of a clear legal structure developing under God's leadership. And the law forms the foundation of life for the traveling people and the Jewish race to this very day. And they're also equally important for us as Christians, as Jesus makes clear in the Sermon on the Mount, when he says, not one jot or tittle of the law will pass away. The detailed construction of the tabernacle would give the people of a sense of the abiding presence of God and the holiness of God. Symbolically, it's to be placed just outside the camp as a constant reminder of God's presence and support with them. This is holy ground. And when Moses goes into the tabernacle, a cloud descends on the building as he and God commune together, an intimate relationship, just like they had developing at the burning bush. And from this priestly beginning of Moses, the priesthood is established to help in running the tabernacle. And the system of sacrifices that have developed for the people to bring. Each has a specific purpose and specific ritual. And in this lies a very powerful teaching medium. And so what we're seeing here, what Moses has established, is a whole culture and ethos evolving and developing. Now, in Moses, we see what God can really do with a person when they've truly come on board. How amazing from that early beginning that he had, when he should have been killed anyway. God seems to have been protecting him throughout. And Moses, under God's guidance, has been an amazing God-inspired, faithful leader. He's judge, priest, and prophet. So through Moses, to go back to where we began, we see the promise of Abraham begins to take shape. And he actually dies looking over the promised land from Mount Nebo in Jordan. Moses, with God at his side, achieved a miracle. He'd set the covenant at the heart of the relationship between God and his people. And this is the pathway for our faith. If you have further time to ponder, just two questions. The time of withdrawal by Moses to Jethro was a time for reflection, a desert time. How do we use such sort of time? Many, for example, have called the lockdown a desert time. And the second question, as God called Moses, promising, I will be with you. This sustained Moses throughout. can you see how God similarly supported you in the past? And what might he be calling you to do now as you walk into the future? Amen.